Well, good morning and welcome to another edition of Deer Valley's Home Health News You Can Use. My name is Carolyn Bryson. I'm delighted to be your host today. Our topic today is rather sensitive, and it is about sexual abuse in children. And I tell you, it just sickened me to read that statistics show that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are actually sexually abused before the age of 18. And what was more alarming is that 30 to 40% are abused by a family member, and another 50% are abused by someone outside of the family whom they know and trust. So this means that only 10% are abused by strangers. So our guest today is Sheyda Irani, one of our licensed practical nurses at Deer Valley. And Sheyda, please explain this if you can.
Good morning, Carolyn. Well, sexual abuse if it was considered a disease, it would have been labeled an epidemic a long time ago. I know sexual abuse is a taboo topic in our society. It's uncomfortable for most people. However, it's a huge problem, and silence is only adding fuel to the fire. So today we are breaking that silence. My purpose today, Carolyn, is to raise awareness in hopes to prevent sexual abuse, prevention, by educating parents in the community. It is time overdue that we make this a better and safer place for our innocent children to live. Before I get started, though, I do want to point out that I may refer victims as girls and predators as men only because the majority of reported cases are that way. However, boys are victims of sexual abuse, and there are female child molesters. Now, I first would like to educate on warning signs of an abused child. Behavioral changes, like the child showing fear a lot and they're unhappy, and they may have a change in their sleeping patterns. They become very withdrawn. The child that used to dance and sing at the family gatherings will not be dancing and singing anymore. They'll have school problems. You know, the child who used to bring home A's and B's is now being suspended for fighting. If you have a baby or toddler, be alert of constant touching of their genitals during diaper changes. If a child shows any resistance to being left alone with a particular adult, maybe you should consider why. And if little Tommy doesn't want to give Uncle Ted a hug, you know, don't force him to show affection if he doesn't want to. I see this all the time, you know, because the child may perceive this as, despite me feeling uncomfortable, you know, I have to do whatever an adult tells me to and show him affection. And, you know, remember, perception is reality. So make your child know that they do have a voice. And you have to remember that an abused child has been told to keep the abuse secret. So, you know, they're not going to come out and tell you. So you as the parent, you must be alert at all times so you can see these warning signs. You know, 95% of child molestation can be prevented.
That's a huge amount, huge amount.
Exactly.
All right, so you've told us then some of the short-term emotional indications of an abused child, you know, such as behavioral changes, school problems, sleeping problems. Now, are there any warning signs that a parent should look out for in the abuser?
That's a good question, Carolyn. Yes, yes, yes. This is so important for parents, the community, to realize and understand. Child molesters are not going to look like a child molester. You know, it's the professional person. It's Uncle Joe down the street. It's Jim, the youth group leader. It's Betty, the beautician. You know, it's Michael, the pastor. The public has the wrong view of who they are. It's not the sniveling person hiding behind the fence, you know, watching the kids in the schoolyard, the men who jump out of bushes. It's the one who tucks the child in at night. 9 times out of 10, Carolyn, the one you least expect it from is the one who is the abuser. So remember, child molesters are not going to look dangerous, and they're not violent people. As a matter of fact, it's the complete opposite. They don't want to get caught. So this makes them experts at analyzing people and situations. They're extremely manipulative, and they will take as much time as they need to groom the child and the parent so that they can establish that trusting relationship. Also, adults lavishing attention on children is definitely worth questioning. Question your child if they have money and you didn't give it to them. Children don't work, so someone had to give them that money. Remember, he or she wants to be alone with your child. I never once in my life, Carolyn, called a friend and said, hey, can I pick up little Ricky and take him to the park? It's such a nice day out. Or, hey, I'll babysit your son this weekend and next weekend and the weekend after that. Normal adults, they want to be around their peers, not children. What about you, Carolyn? Like, if you wanted to go to the store or to the park or just take a ride in your car, who would you take?
I'd want to be with friends.
Exactly.
Or my children, but I sure wouldn't be gathering up a bunch of other kids.
Right. And, parents shouldn't be paranoid about their children having friendships with adults, but just use common sense. And I am a big advocate on trusting your instincts. If something doesn't feel quite right, and you may even label it as weird, those are the feelings that are worth questioning.
That's true. Parents really need to trust their gut instincts. And it seems like another point is that you don't provide the opportunity for someone to molest your child. And the best way to stop a predator of any kind then is to swing that risk continuum in your favor. I remember telling my daughter when she was young, never to sit on a man's lap except for daddy's.
That's so true, Carolyn. I told my daughter the same thing. This can give a pedophile the chance he needs to take it a step further and see how the child will react. Tickling games. Predators will use tickling as an active way of molesting a child through fondling under and above their clothing. And they can easily cover this up by saying, my hand must have slipped. Teach your child to scream as loud as they can and practice it at home so they become comfortable with the actual screaming. Remember, predators need secrecy at luring the child into these sexual acts. So the last thing they want is to draw attention from other people. See, if you learn the child molester's tactics, this takes away their control, and now the power lies in your child's hands. We as parents strive to raise good girls. We tell them, keep your dress down, your legs crossed, but they don't have the slightest idea of what constitutes appropriate sexual behavior. Talk to your children about what's appropriate for their age. If you don't know, just research. The internet, the library provides a great resource. Talk about sex. If sex is never talked about in the home, then children will be very reluctant to tell you if they've been abused. If a child grows up in a home where their feelings don't matter, then the message is, we don't want to hear about your problems. I have too much going on in my own life. I can't handle any more problems. Simply asking your child, how was school today? And how is life treating you? This offers a welcome mat at the door of communication and nurturing. A survivor once stated that if I had known that my uncle had no right to touch me and that I could tell on him, then I might have yelled or screamed that night. And here is where that evil cycle starts. The predator will molest the child, and the child will show no resistance. Even though they're screaming inside, nothing is coming out. So the predator now thinks that the child likes it, wants it, and will continue to molest the same child any chance he gets. I don't know about you, Carolyn, but how many times have you dropped your daughter off and told her, be a good girl, make sure you listen and do everything so-and-so says?
Right. It happens all the time when they're young and you're taking them to the babysitter.
Right. And, now we have the command from the parent to stay quiet, combined with children naturally wanting to please adults, combined with the molester being someone they love and trust. So now you see how this can be really confusing to a child. I can only hope that this discussion today has helped someone to realize that children are so fragile and weak when it comes to resisting sexual pleasure by an adult. Please know that child molesters rarely use penetration. They use fondling for sexual gratification. So if you're looking for a pair of, blood-stained underpants as evidence, you'll be looking for years and years and may never find it. Fondling is sexual abuse. I hear so many people say, oh, he didn't abuse her, he just fondled her. I'm like, what? Are you serious? Child are still left with that emotional and mental trauma regardless. And I haven't even begun to discuss the long-term effects that sexual abuse has on a person. I mean, panic attacks, depression, substance abuse, just to name a few. But this is serious, and it's not getting any better. It's getting worse. Why is it getting worse? Because it never went away. And nowadays, some of these predators like to kidnap the child as well. So I know parents sometimes do not pursue prosecuting the abuser because of the hardship the child will face. But just know that there are no positive outcomes if you choose silence. Speak up for your children, and, they will thank you later, along with a lot of other children you saved. I do want to give a number out today real quick. If you suspect your child has been abused, call 188-PREVENT. 188-PREVENT.
All right, Sheyda, thank you so much. That information was totally enlightening and invaluable. I know there are people, whose hearts would be touched, people who, this can prevent some harm for someone. And I just appreciate your candor and frankness. This has been Carolyn Bryson from Deer Valley Home Health Services. Thank you. We appreciate your business. We hope this has informed and enlightened you. God bless you.
You've been listening to Home Health News You Can Use, brought to you by Deer Valley Home Health Services.